was 8 years old and I had my first Amiga, the Commodore 64 at my home, with the floppy drive and the big keyboard thing.
Lahore, 2016. While the world called blockchain a hype, telecommunications engineer Zaid Munir saw the future. 8 years later, he's the CTO of Immersifi and CEO of Scytalelabs and worked on a solution for the United Nations. From university lecturer to enterprise architect, he is building the bridge between Web 2.0 and Web 3.0.
LLMs it's like shooting a fly with a bazooka. LLM is good. It's a very useful tool. It helps you speak in your own language and make the computer understand what you want to do. We have this huge gap where we won't find new people to fill in the old roles. Because definitely the people are getting senior, they get promoted to management roles or whatnot.
अस्सलामुअलैकुम और आपका द एग्जीक्यूटिव्स की पॉडकास्ट में खुशामदीद ज़ैद।
Walaikum salam. Thank you, Majid. Thank you for having me on the podcast. It's a pleasure being here.
So thank you for taking the time. So I would directly like to give you the stage so you can tell us more about who is Zaid.
Interesting question. So I have had lots of people describe me in different ways, but the most common theme has been, which actually fits me personally, is curiosity personified. That's a very dear friend of mine. He labeled me as such. So I am a very curious individual and sometimes a bit annoying because I'm a bit too curious for most people's taste. So that's has been the defining thing about me. Always curious about whatever is going on around. It's not limited to one thing or one domain or anything like that. So all my life I've been curious about things, and then I entered into engineering. So have been curious about different things in different points in time. Have been entrepreneur from the start. I started making my first program back in 2000, during my O levels. So made my first software. It actually ran, sold it to to a local retailer. So that was back then. But even before that, I have been lucky, to have been exposed to computers very early on. So, like I was 8 years old and I had my first Amiga, the Commodore 64 at my home, with the floppy drive and the big keyboard thing. So, have been a tech guy since the very start, a techie at heart. So, did a lot of things, a lot of ventures during my life. The defining thing had been that I was in academia as a consistent job. But apart from that, I had been doing a lot of different things, freelancing, making different projects, looking at different technologies, learning new stuff. I remember that I was making games when Android came out in Java, you know. So, but they were like too too much, pace over there. They had so many updates in the first 1 or 2 years, it was hard to keep up. Then moved on to different things, but mostly it has been around computer networks, operating systems, and high performance computing side of things. Things that are more in touch with the hardware aspect of stuff. Network servers. Did certifications for Red Hat Linux back a long time ago, and yeah, and then one day a friend came to me and said, "Do you know what's Bitcoin?" I was like, "No, I don't know what the hell it is." And it was around the first, the hype cycle. So that's when we started looking into Bitcoin. My friend had started a new company. It was the first company in Bitcoin locally over here. I joined him as a consultant, and that's how things started. And now here we are, many years later, still in the field. Luckily, my curiosity did not take me to any other place. I'm still doing blockchain because I really loved it, and it has got enough diversity, so to speak, that I never stop learning every single day. So that's the key requisite to keep me engaged. You can't have me do boring, repetitive stuff. So each new day is a new challenge. Sitting down with the team, solving problems, building stuff. So that's who I am. Curious, always learning, always building. Not a dull day in my life.
That's cool. That's cool. You reminded me of a friend of mine. So when like we were having a discussion, general discussion, and someone asked him, "Hey, how like we were trying to do a similar exercise? What do you think of me? What?" So he said, "Majid, if you like want to judge me, ask my son what he thinks of me." And his son was like three and a half, and we did. We literally asked the kid. The kid had a fake phone, like a fake that looked like an iPhone.
Hmm.
So we asked him that, can you tell us what your dad does the whole day at home? So he picks up the phone, puts it on his ear, and then starts like looking on the bill, like top, and then said that because he was still not speaking that much. Like he was speaking his own language, and then started rubbing his belly,
Hmm.
and that's a sign of our friend.
All right.
All of us started laughing. We're like, that is so true. We all said this is so true. So
You know, you'd get something similar from my daughter. If you ask her what I do all day, so she'd pick up the phone and start doing a call. For her, I am on call most of the time because she sees me during the call hours. So the deep thinking hours, she's asleep because that's early morning. But during the rest of the day, in the afternoon, it's mostly calls, and she sees me on call with someone, talking to someone. So you're like, that's having a call, and we have got strict protocols about that. That no noise when calls are going on. Since I work from home.
that's
Just
nice. That's nice.
yeah.
So before we dive into the serious topic, I would love to know what is your go-to comfort food when life gets hectic, too many projects.
So it's a very tough question. Actually, I have a very simple life, and I have very consistent food preferences as well. So I don't switch much. I do have a varied diet, but I I eat food not as an enjoyment, but as something that needs to be done on a daily basis, and it's very very calculated. It has to be calculated for protein intake, calories intake. So because I'm very health conscious, so I really don't have a comfort food. I have different things. If I'm stressed, it's not about food. It's mostly about going for a run.
Interesting, interesting. I was expecting you would say biryani, but it's okay. So
I've had too much biryani. Maybe perhaps.
yeah, true, true. And in Pakistan, it's also like biryani is like if someone's getting married, biryani. If something else happens, if biryani, someone dies, biryani. So it's like biryani every time.
Maybe I did like biryani, but 8 years straight I had it for lunch every day because that was what it was offered at the university, anyways. So I think I lost the touch for that
Okay, yeah,
way too
8 years
much.
is a long time. 8 years
Yeah,
is a long time.
yeah. Most of
That's
the days it was
interesting.
biryani because other food it was like not meh, and biryani was like the staple food. At least it was good
Mm,
whenever you had that.
mm, true, true. Biryani is good. Biryani is good. So I have been getting this question recently a lot, like about crypto and the interesting stuff that's been happening in the whole crypto market recently. So a lot of people talk about investing in crypto and coins and so on, but they end up losing money.
Mhm.
And what advice would you actually give to them, that what should they do? Should they invest in crypto or just like stay away, far away from it?
There are two things, we need to differentiate. Once again, to be clear, it's not financial advice, but this is just how I look at this thing. So there are two distinct things. There are one solid assets that you can invest in, and then there are shit coins and meme coins, and that's akin to glorified gambling on steroids. So if you're a gambler, then you can go to shitcoin and meme coins, and like any casino, house always wins, you always lose. The stats are definitely against you. But if you talk about legitimate assets, like Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, so these are assets that have shown good promise. And for me personally, I invest long term. It's never short term. I'm not shorting anything, or I'm not trading on like a daily basis or even on a monthly basis. It's like
Mhm.
on years horizon. I buy something and then I look at it like 1 year, 2 year down the road, what the price is. And yeah, in case of Ethereum, it does give you shocks, at times, but for Bitcoin, mostly it's like up and up. So, I think for anyone investing in crypto, he should actually be very well versed with normal investing. Things are pretty much the same, the fundamentals are the same, and don't be greedy. Greedy. That's the bottom line, Invest long term. Be an investor, not a trader, That's the distinction that we should be talking about. So
Mhm.
investing, yes, long term, invest for 1 year, 5 year minimum. Trading 1 year, 1 day, 2 day, 1 hour, no, beats me. Why would I do that? Why would anyone
Mhm.
do that? But yeah, it's like gambling. It's addictive, so people do it anyways.
Mhm. Trading is hard, especially like when you put a lot of money and you're like, oh, what's happening now? Let me check the screen again. Like, am I making money? Am I losing money? So that's very nicely put. The difference between investing and trading. Investing, you really like, if you invest in a stock, even you leave it. You check after maybe a year when you need your tax report, and you have to send it to the authorities and so on and so on. Otherwise, and that too, if you sell the stock, you need it. If you don't, then you don't really need much. And
No,
because sometimes if they pay you dividend, then you have to pay taxes on that. At least I'm talking about Germany. If but if you don't sell a stock, there is no capital gain. So the stock is like you bought 10 units of a company, it's 10 units, till the time you don't make the transaction of the payment, like you sell it for X amount,
yep.
you're not going to be charged capital gain because there is nothing to charge capital gain against, right? So, but that's again what Zed mentioned. This is not financial advice, by the way, so don't come behind us. uh, it's
Yeah.
your money, take smart decisions, make sure you actually study about it, like Zed also mentioned. But now you started your career in academia, teaching OS, operating systems, computer programming at universities in Pakistan for over a decade. What was the pivotal moment that actually made you leave the stability of academic life to dive headfirst into the volatile world of blockchain consulting in 2017?
Yep. So it's the same theme, At a point, it became boring. It was the same thing over and over again, teaching same stuff. Um, in academia, especially over here, the main problem was, maybe still is, that it does not evolve very quickly. There's change coming in, and it would be like a 2 4 year process just to have a course, registered and whatnot. So it was not possible to change, not possible to innovate. It was like a very fixed domain. You have to do this every single day. And then there was this major economic aspect to it. In academia, you have got a fixed, you can see where you would be like in 10 years, 20 years down the road, and it wasn't pretty from a financial point of view, honestly.
Hmm.
So I did the maths, that if I were to invest time and energy in a PhD and then still be in academia, what would I end up making? Versus if I were doing blockchain consulting, which I was doing in parallel for quite a long time and being into startups and everything. So the maths was pretty obvious, that you are much more financially independent, and you have much more, you can contribute much more positively once you are in making software developing stuff.
Hmm.
One of the prime reasons that I was teaching was that, I have always had this thing that I need to return to the society. So just like that with business, you can work on meaningful projects that actually deliver value, right? So we'll talk this, later, that there have been quite a few projects that have actually have had a major impact, which I can be proud of. That this is something that is really
Hmm.
worth doing.
Hmm. Hmm. Interesting. Interesting. So maybe let's take a step back and talk about Scytale. Uh, what does Scytale do, and how has the services evolved? Because it's a service-based company, right? So maybe it's a product base. You tell us what it is. So how has it evolved? Let's say since the start.
So in the start, it was a consultancy company. I was doing consultancy. Then the team grew. We were doing services for quite a bit, but then markets change. trends change, AI came in. A lot has changed in the past few years. Literally, it's like day and night. So there was this realization that if you want to have a stable business services, it's good. It does run the kitchen, but you need to have a good product. You need to have a good, meaningful product that makes you money, that delivers value to the clients. So that's what the main focus is now on developing products for ourselves, products for clients that are meaningful. So it's now shifting gradually away from services to a very product oriented focus. And then, since we cannot complete this discussion without mentioning AI, since AI has come in, there are two different things that are going on. One is delivering AI enabled solutions. That's definitely one thing that we are doing. But on the other hand, I feel personally that those who master using AI for their own needs would be the winners. Everyone is doing AI consultancy, AI development. Yeah, we are also doing that, at some level. But mostly, for me, the focus these days is to adapt it for our internal processes, how we can improve productivity, how it can improve happiness. That's one of the things as well. Our employees need to be much more involved, much more motivated, incentivized, and I do feel that AI has a lot of role to play in that, and that's what we are actively pursuing these days from an internal side.
Mm-hmm. So currently you're building products. Let's talk about what is the product and who is your ICP, like who is sort of the customer, like who would actually be using this product. Is it end consumers or is it be businesses or who it is?
So essentially, we have got quite a pedigree of building NFT marketplaces, NFT enabled, services. And that's why, that's how I also got in touch with Immersifi, because, they were looking, exploring this NFT angle to loyalty, and it's still a part of it, but now it has evolved into something much more greater and bigger. It's got lots of moving components, but that was one of the things that actually got me into Immersify. But having said that, we are actively working on real world asset tokenization, because that's one of the few proven use cases for blockchain, right? So that's the product that we have. And now what we're doing is actively trying to have it regulated in different jurisdictions, So we
Hmm.
are actively trying to push it in the Saudi market, right? There are certain limitations. It's not fully a blockchain solution, but we're working actively towards that. Then in the UAE, God, they have got much more polished framework for that. And then additionally, we have got some partnerships in Pakistan, and we have launched this sandbox and regulatory environment, and we are experimenting with that, to get through that. So it's mostly about tokenizing real world assets.
It's an interesting market, right? Also it lets smaller investors come into the whole investment game as well, like real estate, etc., because then they don't need to buy an entire building, but they just buy a part of the building, right? Which in real is I don't think when you buy a share of a company that does property, you buy a unit, you buy a part of the company. So if they use that €1 or €1 or $1 to buy a property, you basically own €1 of the entire whatever the whole market cap is of that organization, right? Not
Yeah.
that asset. But with assets, I think you connect it with real assets. This is for this is for this, and this is for this. Then you also built a solution for United Nations. So would love to learn more about that, because that was also um, labeled as the best traceability solution, right?
Yep. So I had the honor of working with Advait directly. He was the ex-director UN IFAD. So we worked directly to develop the blockchain side of the thing. So it was quite a huge project. So it
Mm,
would we should mention that it had lots of moving components, but one of the components was the blockchain side of things that was developed by my team. So we developed the
mm.
blockchain component for IFAD, and we were developing this pilot from Rome into Africa. So that was done by my team. That also had AI integrations. So, yep, so that was actually focused on moving funds from Rome into Africa. They were doing it anyways, but it was more about giving insights and traceability to where the funds were going. And it was a very future looking, it was forward looking solution. It had integrations planned for CBDCs into it. So it was not just a solution that catered to this reality on ground today, but it has got, extensions for CBDCs going forward when they do come in. So yeah, so that was a traceability solution for funds to help them trace where the funds are going into the African market in particular. But we have had experience building other traceability solutions as well. We worked for a startup in the UK. It was a fashion startup. So we developed a solution for them as well. That was once again in Africa. Interestingly, traceability solutions mostly end up being used in Africa because probably that's where most of the problems are in the supply chain. So yep, we built a solution that was actually able to track produce for fashion garments and fashion
Mm.
goods coming from Africa and ending up into the UK. So it had a lot of patent stuff, so I'm not at liberty to talk about that. But, ultimately what happened was someone can scan a QR code and see the entire journey. And they also gave a proprietary score, green score that you can compare with that. 9, it's a very good product. 6, okay. 4, not a good product. It's not that green, or it does not have eco-friendly practices.
Mm.
um, our particular focus was on UN SDG goals. So there were quite a few of them that we were trying to accommodate into the solution that they have been met at the farm level.
Mm.
So yeah, these are two major solutions for traceability. We have done other projects as well, but that would be maybe
Mm.
we'll delve into later.
Mm.
Separate episode
Mm.
for that. The work done
Yeah,
on
could be,
traceability
could
alone.
could be. If you start diving deep, right, then you can talk about, especially in crypto, because it's a regulated market, and then financial. So there is involvement of money, right, at the end of the day. So you can just talk about the regulations and how you treat the data for like 2 hours, and that 2 hours still will be less, right?
Yep.
That's the beauty of the crypto. Yeah.
So, I'll just add one thing, since you touched that, just, 1 minute. So, as far as licensing goes, it's a very tricky thing, definitely. If you're building a product, especially for the regulated markets, then definitely lots of regulations come in. But as a part of a consultancy, what we try to do is try to minimize the licenses that are required. So, like we're working with two clients, both of them are similar. That they want to build remittance applications based on blockchain in different corridors. So, and
Mm.
they have got different selling points and features. But the thing is, we have identified parts of least distance. At least you have the MVP where you don't need to no need to be bogged down by licenses. In the US, you just have a FinCEN and you can launch your app. That's where we are at right now. We have allowed third parties, or have onboarded third parties that deal with the regulations for us, so we don't have to deal with them. So that's a part of that what we do here. No unnecessary regulations, unless we really have to. Because
Mm.
once the regulations come in, budgets go up. So not suitable
True,
for an
true.
MVP.
Yeah, true, true. I mean, in fintech, even, I mean, the thing is, working in fintech, I've learned that you don't just build stuff randomly. You should first talk to your lawyers, like, should we even build this feature? Because customers might say, oh, yeah, that's cool. But the data protection officers will say, no, that's a horrible idea. Don't do that. Don't do
Yep,
that. It
exactly.
has happened, has happened with me. I thought something looks cool, was a brilliant thing. It would cut the cost for the customer by 15%, just one feature, which was
Oh,
aggressive, per transaction. But then I went to the legal, and they were like, no, please don't even try. Like, why? They're like, no, it's a horrible idea, because it's the customers would love it because they save money. But the problem is they will be in more, you know problems than us, because they are the ones who would have to justify it to the authorities, like, why are they doing this? So
yep.
always listen to your lawyers. They are there for a reason.
That's what
And
running a
also,
business is tough. That's one of the things. There are so many strings you have to pull. And then you have to weigh pros and cons. It's like you have this three weights on each path. Which path do you choose, which has the maximum weight or the minimum weight. You have to optimize every single day of it.
true, true. I mean, business is interesting. It teaches you a lot of things, like calmness, and then you're able to handle a lot of things. Sometimes invoices get delayed, they just get delayed. It's not in your
Sometimes,
hands.
sometimes or all the time.
Well, lucky for me, it's sometimes, it's not all the time. So, I mean, I'm blessed
Most
there
of
a
the time.
little bit, but that's true. Invoices do get delayed, right? And then you have a whole team which is like relying, that we need the salaries. I remember the first time my salary was delayed, I was like, they told us, yeah, our salaries are delayed, and we were like, why? No, that's not justified, I mean. And then they explained, yeah, customer payments are delayed because the customer actually made the payment, so they had the invoices. Then the guy showed me, like the CEO showed me, hey Majid, look, the customer already paid. The problem is the whole how you pay is taking time. So it's not in the customer's hand, it's not in your hands, it's just taking time. So you can't do anything, your employees are waiting, and the customer cannot do anything. So
Yeah.
everyone is in sort of this stress moment, like you're like, oh, when will I pay my people, when will I pay my people,
Then
um
once again, keep on touching very nice points. So you definitely love what we're building. So that's what we're actually trying to do. Reduce the friction, make sure the payments go through. Just like that. So
hmm,
we have got C2C solution, B2B solution, where send money and others get that right there and then. No delays. If you go through this normal banking channel, so there's so much that can go wrong. Murphy's law. If it can go wrong, it will go wrong. So with the banking, it's the same. You have these payments getting stuck in the middle. And all this paperwork coming in, emails, correspondence, provide this document, that document, and this is missing, that is missing. It's chaos. But with blockchain, that's one of the main promises, that you can have commerce at the speed of light, right? There are no delays, it's smooth, cheaper, both for the businesses and the customers. So that's where the world is headed, and that's one of the main focus areas that we have these days. So we are not building our own product per se, but we are building for two clients in this industry, fintech
hmm, hmm.
currently.
and hmm. And it's
Yep.
interesting, right? I mean, it's insane to see, like, 10 years ago, like if someone told me it would be like payments would happen like this, I would be like, huh, really? I mean, Germany is still very slow, by the way, in the whole banking. It is very slow. I mean, if I open a bank account in one of the traditional banks, it takes me 7 days to open my bank account, 5 to 7 days to open my bank account, not be able to send and receive money.
Okay.
Another 5 to 7 days to basically get the ATM card, and then I get the PIN code, and then I get the photo tan code, and blah 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 blah. So it takes literally 20 days, 25 days before I'm actually able to use my bank account.
Hmm. Then probably, I'm not sure. I've never been to Germany, right? And I never have had the chance to deal with the German banks. But then maybe you like it in UAE. UAE is very forward looking. In UAE, I'm not like there are exceptions to it, but there are banks who can open your account in one day, literally.
Mm.
So they are getting good at that. UAE is automating the shit out of everything. Processes are getting much smoother. It's getting going paperless. Everything is going digital. So yeah, maybe come to UAE. we have good banking.
No, what was the TikTok video? Habibi, come to Dubai.
Well, like I said, we have cookies. We have good banking. To lure you to UAE.
Yeah, the UAE is injecting a lot of money. I mean, Thailand was also pretty good. Thailand, it took them literally 20 minutes to open my bank account.
No,
like
yep.
like 20 minutes, and they just needed my they had like a book, like a passport, that had all my information. They just needed that, everything. My address was there, my where I work, how much is my, like everything, main information they needed was on this booklet. You just give them the booklet, they immediately open up a bank account, and then they ask, "Do you need an ATM card?" And you say
Okay.
yes. They say, "Okay, cool. That's another 7 minutes."
Mm.
And I was like, "Huh?" And I was moving from Germany, so I was like, "How the hell will they give me an ATM card in 7 minutes?" It took me like a week or 10 days actually last time. So the only thing was my name was not written on the card. Do
Ah.
I care about it? No. I got my card in like 10 minutes. I was happy. I could
Mm.
use the card immediately as soon as I went outside the bank.
Right.
Only condition, I had some money in it. So that was the only thing. And the best part was when I closed that bank account and I gave the card back, they gave me part of the money back for the card.
Mm. Okay.
So they said you didn't use it for the whole year. The fees is for the year. So you use it for this many months. We are going to give you this much money back. I was like, cool, money coming
Mm-hmm.
in an account. I
Nice.
don't mind that. I don't mind that. Who actually minds getting money? But crypto,
Yeah, true.
the thing I see about crypto, right? When I talk to people, so you're from tech. I'm from tech. That's what I say, right? I mean, I'm from tech. But then we have people, civil engineers, like people who are working in industries, nothing to do with tech, oil and gas. They don't have degrees in tech. They don't understand what is blockchain.
Mm.
And when, like, a few years ago, when I was trying to look into the whole crypto thing, it was so hard. I need a wallet here, and then I need to store these 16 words, and I need to have this passcode, this passkey, and then this and this and this. Then I need to send it from I forgot the name of the wallets now, from this wallet to that wallet, and then I need to wrap it up or something. And then I
That,
always used to question that this is not easy for people. This is So the other solution takes time, I agree, but it's easy. It's very simple.
so once again, just to add to it, so the solution that we are building, they're exactly like you said. So they have got a conventional UI, right? We are
Hmm.
not adding any blockchain bells and whistles to the front end or the user experience. The users don't care, right? They care about convenience, they care about speed, but they don't really care about blockchain, and they really don't want to be bogged down by cryptocurrency, wallets, keys, like you said that. So what we're doing is conventional UX, conventional UI, and only at the base layer, that's where the magic happens. We use blockchain because it's optimized, it's cheap, it's fast to settle, it's cheaper to settle. But from a user point of view, it's that you are sending US dollars, other person is getting GBP, simple as that.
Hmm.
You don't need to know that we converted what to what, when and why, nothing. So, like someone said, it's not my own code, but someone said it that we have to stop teaching people about blockchain. People don't really care about blockchain. They are more concerned about their own end goals. So if you can meet them and blockchain helps
Hmm.
towards that, sure. But just because it's not useful pushing blockchain into everything, especially in the into the UI part of it, unless it's absolutely necessary.
Hmm.
Avoid
Hmm.
that. A big no.
True, true. I mean, even if you look at a simple ATM transaction, right? You take your ATM card, you tap it, ding, and it's done. You think it's like this. Nothing happens behind the scenes. The system behind is extremely complex. Extremely complex. That
Yeah.
touch on the machine sends the data from the chip to the machine, and then that chip basically sends the data to the payment processor, whichever payment gateway, and that payment processor or gateway sends data to the fraud prevention, and then that says yes or no. They get the data back. If it's red, meaning reject the transaction, it's rejected. If it's green, then they test other things as well. There are like multiple attributes, but for the user, it's like beep and done. Some
Yep.
cases you enter the pin code. It becomes ease of use, right? So I think if we start making it simple, right, like what you guys are doing for your customers, I think that will empower more people to use like, I wouldn't use the word blockchain. I would rather use the word more modern solutions, because then they don't care what runs at the back.
Yep. Exactly.
uh, I mean, if you read
They don't need to. It's
they,
just
they
like,
don't need to.
there are two sorts of people, there are two sorts of people that drive an Audi. One, fanatics who know exactly what engine they have, how many horsepower it has, engine oil it needs, and everything. They know everything about it. And then there are others who just sit on it and just pedal it and it goes. You know, in order to drive an Audi, you don't need to know exactly what the engine does, how many horsepower it has, how it works, how the clutch works, or there's like tons of tech you can talk about. But does it matter in the end? No. The user just simply pushes the pedal, it goes. And that's what he's concerned about. That when I push the pedal, how responsive it is. Some people might be interested in opening up the hood and they can fancy. I'm one of them. I like literally like see what the engine is. It's a V8 or what not. What exhaust it has, etc. etc. But just like that, for technology, people simply care about their end goals. They don't care about how you do it, as long as you do it good, right? So that has been one of the main things as well. Don't push blockchain where you don't need to. So, like in the Saudi market, we are doing tokenization. We are looking into it, but like I said, mentioned earlier, it's not mostly about blockchain. It's about what solutions we can provide using what we have that is actually convenient for the users, that users would actually use and love using it going forward.
But isn't this like a common tech trend, so to say? Because this is now happening with AI. Everything, let's use AI. I mean, I saw literally the weirdest solutions on the market, which don't even sometimes make any sense. So I saw an observability solution, and I remember they had a pretty big banner, like a pretty big banner. This was like the beginning of the whole AI era, like AI powered, something like that. They wrote it so big that you could read it from like literally from the corner of the big hall, like AI powered. And then I went to them. I was like, "Huh, interesting. So what are you guys doing with AI?" Oh yeah, he started saying some random stuff. I was like, I mean, okay, cool. I don't know how to implement a machine learning algorithm, but I think I know how AI works. So please help me understand what you guys do with AI. He started again, oh, something random, like making it super sophisticated. I was like, explain to me, assume the fact that I'm 5 year old. I don't know anything, because your business buyer is going to be a 5 year old. They know the knowledge, they have the money, but they don't know how the whole tech works.
Right.
Like and they don't need to learn it because it's not their job. It's not their job. It's if a chief strategy officer says that, let's say, look into AI, and he's the decision maker, that person wouldn't understand or doesn't need to know how AI is working on a, how does an LLM model get fine tuned, because there are people who are experts at that field. you know
Yep.
and then this guy literally explained me that, oh, if one of your microservices is down, what we do is we realize the fact that the microservice is down and we restart it. I'm like, so it's a dumb bot? He's like, no, we are using machine learning. I'm like, what machine learning are you using? Service is down. Right now, I can use any solution like PagerDuty, status page, Datadog, all of them. They can actually tell me within milliseconds that the service is down.
Exactly.
You know, why do I need a machine to basically restart the service? I mean, and the second thing is there are scripts that already do that. That's why we have DevOps people, who are actually writing scripts that it auto starts. So what are you doing? He didn't have an answer.
What I see and what I feel is happening is that people add AI because they want to raise funds. AI is the hot thing, right? Like, back in 2016, blockchain was, it was the hot thing. You have blockchain something and you can raise $1 million just like that. And now it's the same thing. AI something and you can raise a lot of money. But it's unfortunate that for most part, it's limited to LLMs. It's a thin wrapper over LLM and people call it, it's AI definitely, but AI is now limited to LLMs. But there's a lot of other things that not LLM, that is AI, that is still used and should be used. LLMs are, it's like shooting a fly with a bazooka. LLM is good. It's a very useful tool. It helps you speak in your own language and make the computer understand what you want to do. But for specialized tasks, still today, it is being used that you have got specialized models do the things that they should be doing. rather than plugging in an LLM into anything and everything. So I presume that your case was the same thing, plugging in an LLM into any problem and calling it AI. Yes, it's AI, but does it actually optimize the problem? It's like it might solve the problem, but is it optimized for cost? And also, is it optimized for your own business disruption? Like OpenAI keeps on adding features every single quarter, and lots of startups get washed out because they were building the same thing, and OpenAI launched the same thing that they were building, and they're out now. So you have to have a good moat in AI. So,
That's the scary part about AI, right? I mean, it's not just a business that gets wiped out. I mean, look at transcription. Google launched Gemini transcription. A whole industry got wiped out within an hour of, like, it was like the startups were like gone because Google said, hey, you know what, you have a standard subscription with us, we give you transcription for free. Why do I need to pay ten
for free.
dollars per? Yeah, but you, because you're already a customer, right, for
Yep.
them. So they just give it to you, because the
Exactly.
thing is, the other company is also most likely using the LLM from, like you said, as a wrapper, from
Exactly.
Google. And it is getting really scary as well. So, and then there are other domains as well where they are trying to do that, right? The agent thing, for example, like OpenAI is pushing very aggressively, like the whole automation and
Yep.
stuff. I think they announced something like their own agent kit, right? That's, I think, what they call it, agent kit, on their dev day. Last
Yep. What Claude started it
Whenever they
now,
had their.
you have to have it.
Hmm. And what is it? It's similar to like make NA10. I mean, imagine what's happening. And also, like, you're seeing at the same time, NA10 is going so, like, raising so much money, and they basically got valued at $2.5 billion. And then I'm seeing other companies which are like, literally, you see, they're doing good stuff, but they don't have customers. They're struggling. They're firing people left and right, up and down. And then you're seeing this sort of gap building up where you're we are not training the next generation of skilled workers. I mean, we also need to think about that, right? I mean, for example, there was a phase where you needed to learn development and so on and so on. And then there was a phase where you needed to learn automation, and then there is always things like that, right? But now we are not even talking about what is next. Like, how do we build the next generation? For example, task force, who's actually going to be in the market, who's going to work. So what do you
Yep.
think about that?
Yes, so very, very, I got goosebumps, since I've been in the academia, right? So this is something that, that keeps me up at nights, at times, you know. So I've been very vocal about this thing for quite a few years now. When AI came in, I had been vocal about this thing. And I think we discussed this earlier, in our personal conversation as well. You mentioned about some company. I'll just make mention that. The thing is, AI is replacing junior level jobs at a rapid clip. Like, so there was the senior guy and they had 4 to 5 interns helping him out, right? And then these interns got the experience, and 1, 2, 3, 4 years later, they got to be in the position of the senior guy, right? But now what's happening? We have got the senior guy and he replaces all his interns with AI, right? So the new entrants in the job market, they are seeing fewer and fewer opportunities to actually gain the experience that they need to be experienced, right? To be in a position of experience where you have got the wisdom and knowledge to actually use an AI bot, right? It needs quite a lot of brain power. Seriously,
Hmm.
you can either use it be very dumb and it actually leads you astray. Seriously, I've seen that you ask AI question, it is very authoritative and it gives you completely wrong answer. But so you need people who are skilled who can use AI. But now we cannot train people who would be able to use AI 4 to 5 years later. So what happens in a couple of years? We'd have this
Hmm.
huge gap where we won't find new people to fill in the old roles, because definitely the people are getting senior, they get promoted to management roles or whatnot.
Hmm.
There will be this huge gulf,
Hmm.
literally, where
Hmm.
there would be no one to fill the gap. And
Hmm.
that's where that's That's something that I don't have an answer for. I've been thinking about it for like a couple of years now, that how do I actually induct internees and make sure that they can deliver value. But it's tough. You know, I can give an intern a task and he can learn and do it in like a couple of weeks. But at the same time, AI can do it in a couple of minutes. So, there's like orders of magnitude difference, in productivity. Now, it does not really make sense to hire an intern for tasks that takes literally a few minutes and then pay for him to learn, right? So, as an organization, and I've heard other people say, the guy you mentioned earlier as well was saying the same thing, that we have no clue how to train the new people.
We don't. Yeah, that's true. And also recently, I don't remember when, but we have another case that we need the people. We need the people. Deloitte. Everyone knows Deloitte. What
Mhm.
happened with the Australian government? The researcher who actually reviewed the report from Deloitte, so which is a huge name in the
Mhm.
consulting gig, right?
Yep.
Was charged. I don't remember. Like they are asking for a refund of $290,000 because they said that the report Deloitte gave them was AI.
Yeah, quite a scandal. It's very recent, right?
So I think the whole point behind this is we do need the people,
Yep.
and we definitely do need the people. And I think we need to understand, because the whole investment scene was so overly bloated as well, that they got the money, the companies got money, and they spend the money in hiring so many people. Like look at an IT organization. You have a junior level, you start with an intern, then you are a junior software engineer, then you are a software engineer 1, software engineer 2, software engineer 3, senior software engineer 1, senior SSE 2, SSE 3, principal engineer 1, principal engineer 2, principal engineer 3. You become solutions architect 1, 2, 3. Oh yeah, I forgot, staff solution software engineer 1, 2, 3. And I'm questioning, okay, who's doing the work? If there are like 10 people working in a unit, who's actually doing the work? That's over bloating, right? That's also one of the reasons I feel that there is so much layoffs going off. And this is also connected with AI, because people are not being given the opportunity from enterprises as well. I think we need to upskill the people, because a lot of things will be automated, because you don't need people to do that. I mean, I saw a company where they were basically, imagine he had four people who were just, their job was just write the invoice manually. 2025, this is 2025.
Really? Ouch.
If they have to charge invoice like a normal invoice to Zad, let's say 2000 euros, Zad's information is received via email. They type it in manually in Excel in 2025. They put in the money, they calculate the text, and then they put it there, and they like save it as PDF and send it out as a PDF. When I saw this, I was sitting like this, and he had so many invoices that he had four full-time people doing this. And I
Oh.
just asked him, dude, these guys are accountants. Why are you asking them to write invoices? They can do this in like a few seconds, like all the invoices. You can give them harder things,
You know, he'd
and
save
that's what's.
he'd save a
Hmm?
few dollars on QuickBook, but he'd hire more people, Some people are technology worse. You can't do anything about them, right?
True, true. I mean, that's the scary
The
thing, right?
dinosaurs,
About the whole. Hmm?
they have got to go extinct.
Yeah, but like it is scary. I mean, because the cost of the dinosaur going extinct now, it's very drastic. It's a lot of people losing jobs. It's a lot of stress on social systems, like for example, Germany and so on. Where the countries actually do help their people. So it becomes very sort of complicated also for these people, because the thing is, it affects the person mentally. So if a person has been happy in their job, like I have seen these examples personally as well, they have been working for 10 years in an organization, they were super happy there, super happy, they had a good life, they were learning, they were growing, and the company went bankrupt, lost the job.
Yeah.
Now they have been in the market looking for a job for almost 2 years, 3 years. I know people for 3 years as well who are looking, they can't find a job. Not that they're not good people, just because it's like the market is so strange. And there is
I had a
nothing.
word here. So you're talking about a suitable job, right? They might find a job, but it's not suitable to the skill level they have, right?
No, no.
No job at all.
It is. No, it is very bad right now. It is very scary right now. I mean, I saw people who were like making money, like 100, 120, 130K and euros in Germany, which is a good salary here. Right
It is.
now, when they tell the HR, they're like, like, oh, that's too much. We can only pay 60,000. And the reality is, imagine you have a family. Suddenly, you have to pay. You get half your money what you were making before, and you're expected to maintain the same living standard for your family.
Impossible, you know. Yeah, very tough.
Impossible. And then on top of that, courses, like if you want to do an like AI course or something, those are not cheap.
Getting tough.
It it is getting tough. I mean, it is getting tough. I'm not trying to be negative here. I'm just trying to put in the fact that I think the message that you also are trying to say, I'm also trying to say, is we need to start thinking about the next generation of task force. I think that is, like, blockchain came in, everyone said, oh, blockchain is the big thing. Now it's integrated in a lot of systems. A lot of systems are using it.
Yep.
Do I know it as a normal person? No. Right. It's the same with the AI. It's coming in. It's hit a lot of things, and it's going to be integrated, right? But we are not thinking about how do we build the next generation of people. However, now coming back to our topic of blockchain, we completely jumped off it. But I think it was a very good discussion.
Interesting discussion going
Um,
on, definitely.
it was
Very
definitely a good discussion. And so that's very true. So I just realized we're almost also towards an hour. When you're discussing important points, you don't even realize how time flies quickly, right?
good. Yep.
But and I would like that we end this conversation on a humorous note. So between managing teams across Pakistan, UAE, and Australia in different time zones and different cultures, you must have had some interesting video call situations. So, what's the most chaotic or funny behind the scene moment you have had while trying to present a serious blockchain solution to a client or having an internal team meeting? Of course, you can hide the names of people and companies involved. So,
No, it's a funny situation, you know. I'd have to, censor it a bit, but it's very funny, So we had this client in Australia, right? And we had a deployment. So we had this deployment, and it was at really odd hours. The team was in Pakistan. So what happened was, due to some complications, the deployment got delayed a lot. They brought in some engineer from their side. He put in last minute security concerns that you cannot deploy on this infrastructure because XYZ. So we now need to deploy it on this one. So at runtime we had to do the deployments again, and like it's past midnight, way past midnight. And the product was supposed to be live at midnight, right? So we're doing it, and there are like 5 to 6 people on call. The CEO is on call. I'm on call. The devs are working, and like there's this interrupt every 5 minutes. We got in this. We don't usually do that, but we got into a situation where like there were 5 people on call, and the devs were working, and everyone's looking at the screen because it needed to be done so urgently because it was delayed. So now everyone is looking at the screen, everyone is panicking, the tempers are high, quite high. And this dev is working, and and then suddenly his screen stops working. Literally, we are having a screen session, and like nothing is moving, and I'm saying hello, hello, and there is no reply. And then I call him up locally, and he's not picking up. Then I call the other dev, do you know what happened? He dropped off like he's dead. What happened? He says that I don't know. So like 5 minutes pass by, and everyone is panicking. Everyone is shitting his pants. Like, way, what's happening? We are late. Blah 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 blah. F words flying around. So I'm like,
I feel right now I'm like, what happened to the guy? What happened to the guy? Like,
yeah, I'm gonna tell you that you'll like it. You'll literally roll on the floor laughing. So like 10 minutes go by, and like everyone is now calmed down because they have had all the outbursts they could. The dictionary exhausted, and everyone like, okay, so he's he's dead. The guy is dead. So let's figure out what we need to do. Maybe someone else, bring on someone else to do his work and something like that, and then suddenly we have a hello. and the mouse started working. I'm like, what happened? You fainted or something? Oh no, I had a call of nature in between. So that
What?
guy, that guy had been working for such a long time that he had to go urgently, and then he went and did not inform anyone. And for like good 10 to 15 minutes, he had no clue that he had died or what or whatnot, and then he's back. So that was quite a joke, that wrong thing at the wrong time, and it was quite a dramatic night.
I can imagine. I mean, he could have written BRB. It takes like 1 second. BRB, enter, and
No,
done.
he didn't.
You know,
It was so urgent he had to go there and then.
in BRB.
It was quite a
Man,
night.
I don't know what to say. I mean, and the thing is, you're worried about the guy at the same time. You're like, what happened to him? Where is he? Because I was like, what happened?
Exactly.
I hope he was alive afterwards.
He definitely was and very relieved. So,
Okay.
that was one
That's
of the
that.
most funniest
That would have
calls
been.
I've had, in ages.
I
It's
mean, that
very
would have been very
memorable.
stressful at that time because the client would be like, "Where is my deployment? Where is my deployment?"
Definitely, it was very stressful. I was managing multiple calls. I had two phones. One was ringing from Australia. I was getting calls from the CEO. Then I was having calls from their partner. Hey, Zad, what's happening? Then there was another one, Zad, what's happening? And then I was calling my other dev, what's happening? Calling him,
Hmm.
hey, he's not picking up. It was a mess, very chaotic. But, we lived through it. We did the deployment. Everything was good. The client was happy in the end, definitely. That's why we still have a relation after all these years, like 7 years, and we still have a good working relationship. So
Hmm.
it ended well, but you know, quite a night.
I can imagine. I can imagine. But well, I hope that situation doesn't happen again. I hope that situation doesn't happen again. So, final question to you: what's next for you and your ventures?
Interesting question. So for me, there are multiple things going on. So at a personal side, health is a priority. Staying healthy, especially keeping the mind healthy, that's the number one priority. Because when this is healthy, you can do whatever you want. So that brings down to the thing that we discussed: healthy eating, regular gym, exercise, thing like that. On the other side, on the business side, multiple things going on, but one is automating the shit out of everything, like not just for the sake of it, but real productivity. Making sure that we are using AI for all the processes, right? It's not about replacing humans, but it's more about making them more effective, right?
Hmm.
Things that needed a team of five, now a single person can do it, and much better. But definitely, we have got super skilled individuals who can monitor what the AI is doing, so that it does not go awry on, does thing that it should not be doing. So that's one. That's second. And then all about building. One thing we never discussed. One of the major focus that we have these days is client retention and client satisfaction. Because having been in the business for such a long time, one realization is that the client needs to be happy, and you have the most business when you have got repeat business, right? So for us, what's worked is that every single client that we have had is happy with us, and when
Hmm.
they're happy, not just that they come back to us for more work later on, but they also refer other people to us. So once we have to run after clients, outreach, emails, all that stuff. But now it's quite the reverse. Clients chase us down. We keep getting so many leads, referrals, word of mouth effect. So if you deliver quality,
Hmm.
people appreciate that and come back to you.
Hmm.
But when you talk about quality, it's two things. One is in software, we both know that in software, there's one perceived quality and then there's the internal build quality. So perceived quality is top notch, but not just that. the internals. We are trying to make sure that they are immaculate. We can do as good of a job as we can without over engineering, but it's engineering to the point that where it is justified, putting in all those hours and effort. Especially with AI, we can do a lot more engineering for solutions which we couldn't have done earlier.
Mm.
So we're not cutting corners, we are not just making more stuff. We are making more better stuff for our clients. And that's why they are happy with us.
Interesting. I mean, that's very true. Also, in this times, I think it's important to make your customers happy. Like deliver a high quality solution so though they stick with you. Um,
Exactly.
Very nicely put. Very nicely put. And with that, I would like to say thank you so much for joining in today, Seth. It was actually a
Thank
fun
you.
conversation. I was a little bit, worried that it might get too technical, but we actually did not cover much technical at all. Actually, it was like I think it was like no technical, very basic.
Yep. Yep. So
So
yeah, I resisted the urge not to go into technical details, but yeah,
mm,
success.
yeah, woohoo! I mean, thank you so much. So people actually learn. That's the whole goal, right? They learn from your story, they learn from your experiences, and so on. So with that, I would like to again say thank you to our listeners. Thank you so
Thank
much for tuning into the executives this week. If you found this episode valuable, want to learn what Zad is doing, his LinkedIn would be mentioned, or you want to connect with, reach out to them on Scytale, just the website would be mentioned. And if you found this episode valuable, do not forget to subscribe, share it with your network. Until next time, this is Majid signing off.